I know about people that have been writing JAMB for over 10 years now.
10 years?
Let me know
People are
exactly.
writing JAMB for 10 years.
Yes, now.
And they haven't gotten...
They haven't gotten admission.
Wow. Hi guys, it's Obi King once again in the house with another video for you guys, and today I'm joined by Chioma Otie from @YouthQuake with Chioma. Be sure to follow her, and also be sure to follow your boy Obi King if you are not following already. And today we are going to talk about a whole lot of issues affecting Nigeria from recent times. Chioma, welcome to the channel. Say hi to your fans.
Thank you so much. Hi to your fans first. Let me say hi to your fans first and your subscribers. My name is Chioma Otie, like you said. I'm also a YouTuber. The name of my YouTube channel is YouthQuake with Chioma, and we talk about everything youth under the sun. So I was laughing because you said we were going to be talking about problems in Nigeria stuff and
issues.
Issues. But then most all the time in Nigeria there are problems or there are issues. So it just made me laugh. I found it quite funny. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Very good to have you. And without further ado, I'll just start with the first topic. The most shocking one, I guess, of which CBN directed banks to impose a 0.5% cybersecurity levy on all transactions. And what this would mean is that basically, whenever you're trying to transfer money online, like let's say you want to transfer 1,000 naira, they would deduct a levy of 5 naira from you. If you want to deduct 10,000 transfer, they would take a levy of 15 naira. 100,000 transfer would attract a levy of 500 naira. And like 1 million transfer would attract a levy of 5,000 naira. So obviously this is something that would affect businesses, like, you know, that do transactions online.
Yes.
It's very funny because CBN actually, they specify that this is on all individuals.
Yes.
Like, and they directed the banks to be the ones to collect these funds on their behalf. So that was the very, very interesting topic I talked about. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Actually, I was really saddened when I saw this, and I don't even know whether it's a best practice like for economics globally, but it doesn't make sense to me, to be honest, because when you think about it, it might seem like, okay, getting a 5 naira deduction from 1,000 naira is not really much, but when you think about it, aggregate all the other levies that they collect. Have you checked your account balance when you do a transfer? They take deductions. There are deductions every here and there. Then now this one is going to add to it. I feel it's just too much, and they were going by whatever act, Prohibition and Prevention Act. It doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. It still doesn't make sense, because when you do this, okay, I saw a news story that said that it shouldn't affect individuals, it should affect only businesses. But even at that,
actually I can talk about that. The House of Reps, they are now kicking against them.
Yes, I saw that too, and I was happy. But I think this was a very ill thought strategy or approach to actually
let me
do a lot.
That a bit. The House of Reps, actually what they said was that probably the CBN, they kind of misread the act, the Cybercrime Act, that is not actually supposed to affect individuals. Like you said, it's the businesses that are actually doing these transactions that should be affected. In particular, the banks, like the financial institution. But later, the Senate now came out and they are in support.
So that's the thing. I just feel like in Nigeria I think the word is reactionary. We react to things other than we actually proactively find ways to work on things. Because if two very critical bodies in Nigeria are opposing each other on a particular thing, then it doesn't make sense. That means there is no congruence in everything that they are doing. First of all, CBN came on their own. Is it like there's no connection between CBN, the National Assembly, and the Senate? I don't understand. Are they all working in isolation? Isn't there a way of synergizing? CBN said this one first. The House of National Assembly came and said, okay, they do not want it, that they should halt on the implementation. Then Senate came and they're like, they support it. It is they act on. I'm like, where are these people
is there infighting?
I don't understand. And I don't know, you know, all of these things boils down to interest. Is it like there's an interest? Because in Nigeria, if it does not benefit you, you would always try to work on it not working out for Nigeria. So maybe in the National Assembly has discovered that it is going to affect them. Maybe they're the ones that carry out big transactions now. So they've probably calculated and they're like, if I want to take out like 5 million naira now, maybe they will take CBN is going to take out this particular sum of money, and if I do that continuously, I'm going to be losing out on certain amount of money per day, per week, per month, like that. And then these other ones are like, it won't really affect me. Let me just tell them to continue. I feel like there's this disagreement. It's very apparent, and they need to work on it. Otherwise, we'll keep having problems in Nigeria.
Yes, and coming to that your point, I think it's businesses that will suffer the most, even and the fact that our economy, we're trying to salvage it now. You would think that they will have some more foresight and know that this thing is not the best thing to implement at this point.
That's the thing.
You're supposed to be bolstering the economy, making it the ease of business transactions even simpler, so that we can get back, at least let's get back to $1 under 1,000 at least.
Did you discover that, or have you noticed that before? I know that Nigeria's economy was doing really well, and in Africa, I think Nigeria was like on top of the list of businesses or countries with like the best. I don't know. There's this term they use for it, but I don't think it is the ease of doing business. But there's this term, so we're topping the rank. But recently, I discovered that so many other countries have taken over. I think South Africa, I think Algeria, and even Egypt, they are now further ahead than Nigeria. So now we're the fourth. When we used to be like, there was a time we were the first, I think we're second at some point. Now we've gone like backwards. And then coming back to businesses in Nigeria, these people are already suffering. The landscape of the economic or business landscape is already very frustrating for them. They are coming to add more levies for them. They are, if you notice, if you have a conversation with maybe a business person or an entrepreneur in Nigeria, they always tell you that one of their biggest challenges or limitations is multiple taxation. So that this one is another way of taxing them. This is for me another tax. So people are trying to find ways to actually build their businesses, and the dollar to naira exchange rate is not even helping matter. So many things. The ecosystem right now is really very volatile. They are bringing this thing. That's why I said I think it was very, very ill thought through, because even if you want to do this, this is not the time. This is not the time. I know they're trying to balance the exchange rate. They're trying to bolster or build the naira again, strengthen it. But this is not the best time. So I think before they actually make decisions like this, they should look out for certain indicators. Is the we're not even talking about the inflation. The inflationary rate now is skyrocketing, and food inflation is on another level. So you did not even consider all of these things before you came up with something like this. And before you come up with things like this, I'm sorry, but I'm very vexed at this story.
No, it's understandable. It's a very shocking. It's a very shocking development. And the way it just came out.
People just come up in the morning and they're like, let's trend. Let's let's bring up something, and then we just come up with.
We still have about a week plus before it's actually implemented. If they do go ahead with this. But
well, it's in my prayers, and I think all of you, let us go on our knees and pray. Let the National Assembly hold firmly on this and not succumb to any kind of incentive or anything that they want to use in influencing them.
I think it's going to have the opposite effect, because even I've talked with some people in the markets, and they are already like coming up with how they will mitigate against this thing. They are saying they might have to start using cash. Like they might have to go and start whenever they're doing transactions, they might have to start demanding cash. And this will now go against the whole cashless policy that we keep trying to.
So I just feel like we are going in circles.
Actually.
Futile circles.
There are some transactions that are exempted.
Exactly. Exactly.
I just want to go through them. Loan disbursements and payments. Salary payments.
I'm happy about this
one. Intra-account transfers within the same bank or different banks for the same customer. Which, I mean, can you imagine if they were charging you the levy when you're trying to transfer to yourself? That would have been the funniest thing.
Yes.
Interbank placements, bank transfers to CBN and vice versa.
Yes, now they have to exempt themselves.
Inter-branch transfers within a bank. So, basically, if it's the same bank you guys are using, you can send without the levy. Check clearing and settlements, letters of credit, bank recapitalization, related funding, savings and deposits, government social welfare programs, and non-profits and charitable transactions. That's donations, charity. The final two are educational institutions transactions.
Oh yes, I think I like this one too because this will have been a problem. So I'm happy that this was exempted.
And finally, transactions involving the bank's own internal accounting. I think it's very interesting that they like just give the thing to the commercial banks. So yeah, the ones that will be collecting this money.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a lot of issue there too.
Yes.
Like in the accurate pooling of all these funds, they are bound to be issues. Like the thing is so complex already.
Yes. So well, I don't really know I don't understand some of the terminologies on the exemptions, but I'm very particular about the fact that salaries were exempted, donations were exempted, tuitions were also exempted. But regardless, it still doesn't make sense because it still boils down to the fact that certain people will be affected. And the fact that businesses will be affected is going to invariably affect us. Everybody's going to be affected because the moment these people start paying, they now start increasing the prices of things. So they'll say, you know how much they pay for tax? They pay. So now if something used to be 5 naira before, they can now make it maybe 6 or 7 naira. So if you now, as a regular person that is not even being affected by this cybersecurity levy and all of that, you now go to buy these things, you still feel the brunt of it because they are increasing their prices. Because there's no way we can say, okay, we'll not go out to buy things. You still go out to get things. And when you go there, you still have to pay for it indirectly. So all of us are still paying for it indirectly. For me, I don't know. If you ask me for my opinion, even though I was not asked, but I'm still going to say it. I don't think this one should go through. Like the National Assembly, the Senate, all of you should just come to some sort of harmony and halt this one. Or if at all it must stand, it shouldn't be 0.5%. People should do 0.1.
Yeah, 0.5 too. That percentage is quite large.
Like, we're talking about it, we think it's low because it's just 0.5. When you start doing a lot of transactions, especially for people that do lots and lots of transactions, when you get the culminate of all of these amounts per week, you discover that you've lost quite an amount from your business. So we're not really talking about it so much now because we are individuals and we are fairly not really getting affected by this. But business people, they will suffer this. So I just don't want this to go through.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that.
I really do not want.
The funny thing is that a lot of businesses are already complaining that in the first quarter of this year and last year, they made a lot of losses, because of the Naira exchange rate,
yes, inconsistency,
difficulty in doing business, cost of production has increased. So to now even add this one, even MTN said that they made a serious loss, like about 500 billion.
I saw that.
The first quarter of this year already. I'm like MTN that everybody
so
uses.
Imagine.
I mean, almost everybody uses to call and everything. I'm like, how are they even making loss? And that much loss?
For me, that was outrageous because 500 is it million?
Yeah,
also,
it was 500 billion actually.
So
500 billion.
That's a lot. And wait, was that? I can't remember. But was that from Nigeria alone or from?
No, Nigeria alone. No, as the numbers, they actually they are very difficult for me to comprehend. Honestly, whenever I hear these things. I know last year a whole lot of companies they lost money.
A lot.
Nigerian breweries lost money, and I was going to do a deep dive on that in a different video. But to now add to this burden and say you're taxing them for cyber security.
I'm telling you.
You're taxing them for cyber security.
So since we've not had the cyber security thing, I know that we've heard a couple of stories about how people lost money to fraudsters and all of that. But I don't think it is... Okay, it's not like, I'm not trying to now say that, okay, the fact that we do not hear a lot of it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, or the people that actually experience such are not really very careful with their maybe confidential information and all that. But we don't really get a lot of that. So them bringing this up now, if it's really necessary, because they said it's been there since 2015, but they had been postponing the implementation to make it timely. Now it's still not timely. But regardless, I don't think it is so much to the point where this is supposed to be compulsory. I don't even know how they want to streamline it because I feel like we are very populated in Nigeria. And even though the people that are unbanked in Nigeria, because there are still a lot of people that are unbanked, like people that are in rural areas, very remote areas, they are still very unbanked, but quite a number of Nigerians have bank accounts. So how do they want? I'm still very curious. Anyways, I know that they would have this under control, but I'm very curious to know how they really want to manage this. So if I'm transferring from myself, because you know that an exemption was intra-bank transfers for the same account or
within the same
intra-account
account.
transfer. So if I'm transferring to my, maybe for instance, let me use like my GT account to my Access account, for instance, I'm not supposed to be charged.
No, you won't be charged if
Good.
it's your
Yes,
own account.
your own account. Yeah, but I'm still very curious. I'm sure they'll have like some infrastructures in place, but I don't know how they are going to really monitor these to ensure that they don't charge me.
I imagine even the banks themselves,
Yeah.
like even they too, they have to start racking their brain about how
Yes,
they,
how to
because
go over
it's
this.
an extra burden on them.
Yes, so they
actually.
themselves should
Yeah.
decline.
Yeah, they should protest. The banks should protest.
Honestly.
Speaking more on the economy, I'll just divert a bit.
Okay.
Bloomberg came out with an article and they said our currency in the past month was the worst performing currency in the entire world. And this is immediately after being the best performing currency.
Yes.
So as in, for me, the way I see things is just our money is just volatile. Like
I'm
that's just
telling
the best,
you.
because trying to like say it doesn't even make sense. How do you just go from the best to the worst immediately
In less
the
than
space
2 months. In less than 2 months.
it really makes zero sense. So it's like it's just a testament to the volatility of our currency,
Honestly.
and it's quite unfortunate, Sha, because again we're talking about businesses, and as a businessman you want to be able to project this is how much I can be able to make in the next. I mean, businesses, they do like quarterly reviews, yearly reviews,
Yes.
and now you can't even have you can't even have a say.
Predictions at all.
You can't even project.
At
It's
all.
very sad. I mean, see something like Microsoft that they
Just
had a
shut
center
down.
in
Yeah.
Lagos where they just shut down. They didn't even give any.
I'm telling you, no reason whatsoever. Back to this story. I am a very patriotic Nigerian, and I always speak the best of Nigeria. But when I saw this story, I could not help but laugh. Like, I can't place why I was laughing, but it was too funny for me to even fathom, because how would a currency be the best performing? I know in February, Nigeria's currency was really, that was the point where we were headed for 2,000 naira per dollar.
Yeah.
Then CBN just swung into action, and everything began to take shape somehow, and we got to 1,000 naira. Some people say, I don't know, I was not really following it at that time, but some people said we went a little below 1,000 naira to a dollar, right? But all of a sudden, we are now back to 1.4, we're now back to 1.3, and now we are the worst performing. And the thing is, these people, that's to tell you that all eyes, I would not say all eyes are on Nigeria, but these people, Bloomberg, I think then McKinsey, all of these people are always on the outlook. They're always on the lookout, looking out for countries that are really putting certain strategies in place to make their economy work well and try to manage their currencies and all that. But for what Nigeria did, I cannot place it. I like to be positive, and I believe that our CBN governor knows what he's doing. But I think the steps he took this time to try to manage the situation was not sustainable. And I think they're just doing a trial and error method, and they're doing hit and miss. If this one works,
that's definitely
fine.
what it seems like. Yeah.
Yes, because
like
how
they're
can
just
we be
trying
the
to
best performing? Like, I was one of the most excited person, and like I said, I'm an unrelenting optimist. I mean, even especially about Nigeria-related matters. Once I see that the Naira is doing well, I'm the person that will take it to my status, to my story. And I'm like, guys, you see, all of you naysayers, our currency is doing well now. When I now saw in less than 2 months, it's now the worst. I'm like, where are we? What is it about our currency that it cannot be steady? You cannot make projections. You cannot even you cannot make certain trajectories in your business, because you are limited by the fact that, okay, today the dollar is 1,000 naira. Tomorrow it could be 1.2. The next day it could be 1.3. So if you want to make business projections, you have to include some maybe contingencies and all of that, because you don't know what is going to happen.
Yes.
And that is not so good.
You just brought up a very interesting thing. I noticed, like, even those that do importation and sell,
Yes.
like electronics,
Yes.
they don't even peg their prices anymore. They just tell you that it's subject to change. Like,
Yes.
today you can come to their store, you see
Yes.
the price of something, says 1,000.
Yes.
Tomorrow is 1,200, and they can change it at any time. Like,
God.
even now, like invoices, they don't really have meaning. Or in the invoice, they will write price subject to change on invoice that they are giving you.
Is that not just very hilarious?
Yes.
It's just so unbelievable. So that's to tell you that we live in a country where, in fact, the volatility has so escalated to the point where, okay, I saw this very funny stuff. I don't want to digress, but it was so funny. I heard a few people talking about how in Nigeria, if you go to buy something now and they tell you that the price is 1.5, buy it immediately. They said don't go and say you want to come back, or you know how you would want to price around price. So if you go around to price and then or to know what the prices are, when you come back they'll tell you it's 1.7 from 1.5. So if they just tell you it's a particular amount, that's to tell you that Nigeria is not working economically, and we need to work on that, because if this continues, it's going to affect so many more other areas. And them now bringing all of these levies is going to make doing business in Nigeria very difficult, and it's going to weed out all of these investors, because people don't want to come and invest in a state or an ecosystem where very volatile economy. So they don't want to come to an economy where they probably are getting a space for like 1 million, and then they come and then they're telling them it's now 2 million, or they want to come and like train people and they already had a budget, then all of a sudden you're telling them that it is maybe 5 million, especially if they're foreign organizations. You now tell them that it is $1 million higher than they had projected. Who would come here? Insecurity is already there, which is actually giving investors cold feet to come and invest. And your economy is not even appeasing, it's not even appealing at all to them. I don't know, but this is annoying. It's very, very saddening.
Yes, I agree. And you know, this kind of topics, I wish I could be more positive. Like you said, you're an optimist. Me, yes. I'm not. I'm really not.
No,
I'm
more
of a
trying to look out for the silver linings in the cloud, because
I want to do that, but every time I see, like, I keep searching for the good news, like to see if, just like you said, when it was the best performing currency, I too was happy. Nice. But compared to how it was like just a year earlier, I was like, it doesn't, the news is a moot point, because like we're coming from a period where a dollar was like 400 naira.
Yes, it was working.
Now, I mean, but anyway, just like you said, the things that the government needs to do now is they need to start showing sincerity of purpose. That cybersecurity level does not show sincerity of purpose
at all.
They need to be transparent, show sincerity of purpose, and attack the root causes of these problems.
Yes.
Levy is not the issue. It's just that people are unemployed. There are no, like, we need to start creating businesses, start pushing for production, because we don't produce.
We need to start manufacturing more.
That's my thought. Like, that is the root cause. But when you are leaving it and you are chasing after all this, like, the next story I want to go into is even the crypto issue.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. Like, but they need to stop these wild goose chases.
Yeah.
Tinubu's tenure is coming up to 1 year. Like, okay, what can he actually say that in 1 year I have done this and it's working? So, or will he just not address us?
Let's just respect ourselves. So that we don't have another chaos after 1 year.
Okay, the next story I want to bring up is the Binance CEO. Of course, you know that government is very anti-crypto this period. And the Binance CEO actually came out with a blog, and he said that the Nigerian government, like, they asked them for $150 million bribe for their issues to go away. I actually broke down the story. It's a very interesting story.
Okay.
Let us give it to you. Yeah. So in 2022, in May, that's when Nigerian SEC, they published their regulations for digital assets. What it means is, like, all these crypto companies, they say you can come and register. Okay. These are regulations.
Yes.
So according to the Binance CEO, this is his side of the story. He said that the regulations, they were vague. Like, the regulations for them to register.
Yes.
They were vague. So Binance now said they reached out to SEC on several occasions to ask them, how do we do this registration properly? But SEC didn't respond to them.
What's SEC?
That's the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay. They are the ones in charge of such relating to finance.
Okay.
So basically, he said that he made this claim, the Binance CEO. that all the virtual asset service provider, that's all the crypto exchanges, that none of them has been licensed till today. So if what he's saying is true, this Binance is saying that all those crypto apps we've been seeing, all those Patricia,
They've all been
that
illegal.
we've been seeing, that they have not been registered,
No
they have not
license to
been
operate.
licensed. Like that was the first thing. The story still goes on. But
Okay.
like, can you imagine that? I mean, I've been seeing these things on TV, on
Yes.
ads, and
Big,
I'm
big
just shocked.
advertisements.
I'm just shocked that they didn't even have any license to operate in Nigeria, but they were just going on, and people are paying their money into this platform. And it's very, very funny to me. I was shocked. And you know, I said after this, 1 year later, this is last year, 2023, that's when they now started publishing that Binance is causing problem, that warning Nigerian public they should not trade with Binance. You know, Binance, they are the biggest crypto platform in Nigeria, in the world, basically. So in 2023, they now said Binance Nigeria Limited, that they should not operate in Nigeria. Then Binance now came out and said, even that Binance Nigeria Limited they mentioned was not their own.
Like registration name or the name.
Thank you. It wasn't their name. But they just
Nigeria is a joke.
they just assumed that it's them. So they now started taking steps, and they stopped doing ads. They stopped doing try anything. They follow the procedure. This is the story. They followed the procedure. They said they are not going to advertise Nigerians again. Then they now wrote to the SEC and said they are willing to cooperate, and they wanted to have a meeting with them. SEC did not respond again. Then late last year, November, we're getting close to the situation. Late last year, November, Binance was doing law enforcement training for EFCC.
Okay.
And the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit. Binance was training our government officials and paying them. And then in December, Binance, that's when the House of Rep Committee on Financial Crime said that they should send their representative, that they want to do an investigative hearing on just for Binance.
Yes.
So that now brings us to this year. So this is when they now came and they arrested those two guys from Binance. What happened was they set the hearing for 10th of January. Then some Binance employees came for the meeting. They came for the meeting. This was before the hearing. You know, because I think they call you for a hearing for public investigation. Like, you want to know that what did we do?
Yes.
What do we need to provide?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? So they said on the 8th of January this year, they were supposed to have a meeting with like 5 honorables from the House that are part of that committee. And then it's at the meeting that these House members were now telling them that it's a very serious matter, that in fact we are willing to arrest a lot of you guys. And then actually what they now said is that the House committee does not actually have the power to issue arrest warrants. But they were still like making the threats. And then till this time, Binance still didn't know what they did. They still haven't received any details of the allegation. Then they now say it was this meeting, and when they were leaving the venue, then some unknown people approached them, and that's when the bribe offer was made. That they told them that give us this 150 million and to go away. Yes, through crypto. And you know, this was now that period where the Nigerian currency started nosediving. So they now blamed everything on Binance. They said, and that's another interesting story. Like, they were saying that what caused the problem was that because Nigeria didn't have fixed exchange rates, that people are relying on Binance's peer-to-peer exchange rates as an official rate. That's why the thing kept increasing. So that's where they said the issue came from. But the NSA in Nigeria, they didn't want to know. The EFCC, they didn't want to know. So that's when finally two of Binance executives, they now came for another meeting and they were now arrested. This was February 26th.
Running businesses in Nigeria, especially at this time in Nigeria's history, is very, very difficult.
It's very, very difficult.
And I'm just going to give a kudos to people running businesses. A lot is at stake anyways, because even your mental health will be at stake. Aside from your finances, your mental health, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. You could just be there tomorrow and then they have come to probably say there is something else tax, because there are just so many taxes. People are already complaining about the multiple taxation and other unnecessary levies that they have to pay. Then you're still bringing up more things.
And just randomly.
And people that are trying to, because Binance is one of the ways some Nigerians make money. So now it's just like they've lost, these people have become much more unemployed and more financially crunched. And so it's now be like the likelihood of probably going into some very unhealthy system of life and increasing like crime rates in Nigeria is going to probably skyrocket, because this is just like in a vicious circle. When they don't have jobs and Nigeria is not giving them jobs, they try to survive, and when they try to survive and it's not really sustainable, then they probably resort to crime, and when they resort to crime, they come and arrest them, and it just keeps going like that.
Like they're just trying to survive. Young people, they're just trying to survive.
Honestly,
and they saw an opportunity in crypto speculations, and they went and started getting coins for themselves, doing trading.
I know people that have made good money out of it. Good money.
I think Nigerians are one of the most, like, the highest users of crypto.
I agree too, because if it wasn't that serious, these people will not even be taking Nigeria government so seriously, because all they will do is to move out of the market. They will leave. They'll not even listen to the government, but because they know that these people are one of like their biggest, aside from our numbers, they operate so much. They don't want to let go. So it's so difficult to actually do a lot of things in Nigeria. It's so difficult. And I just hope that this is an unfolding story, and I just want to see what the end will be. I'm very curious to see how this completely unleashes. Let's know whether we should stop doing some kind of transactions.
Yeah, you said something earlier that you believe that in the future that we'll be using crypto for transactions, right? But like, I think that's what most governments are against. Like, they want to be in control of. Nigeria especially.
Yes.
So they want to be America, they actually created a coin. I mean, just look at different approach. America, they actually created a coin that is linked to their currency.
Yes.
And said, okay,
you can be trading
with this. But we were like, no, don't understand it. We don't understand it.
And that's the thing. I think it still just boils down to ignorance. And they don't know these things. So maybe that is why they find it threatening. And now these people offered, okay, let us teach you. You still do not want to learn. You see them as a threat as well, and you're finding ways to attack them.
And you think that something that you believe is affecting your economy, so at least you try and want to get an understanding.
I would have expected that a reasonable government would even call these people, okay, since you're already in Nigeria, you came for something different. Okay, let's try to talk things out. Explain what your business really is about. Let's assume that we do not even know anything. So now, how can we cooperate? How can we collaborate to actually make transactions easier? If it's going to still build, if it has the capacity to build our economy, let us find ways to collaborate. And people that are doing it can still continue. Other people that are not really into it can still find ways to. But instead, they are trying to suppress them and suffocate their existence.
You see, funny enough, this cybercrime tax they are talking about is something these crypto platforms could have paid. Like, they could have said, okay, you can operate just this tax.
You see?
And,
these are areas that they will have looked into if they took their time to really think about it.
Well,
sometimes I feel like beating this government.
See, I'm about to enter into another aspect of this whole business. Now, I'm talking about buildings in Nigeria. If you've heard, there have been a lot of demolished buildings in Lagos State. We're talking about the richest part of Lagos State.
Yes.
And apparently, the government came out and said that 80% of the buildings that are already in Lekki that have been built, that they are not government approved. And I don't know about you, but my first reaction, I remember I posted it on my WhatsApp status. I was like, okay, who approve. Because okay, if it was something of 10%, you'd be like, okay. But if you are saying 80%, that's the overwhelming majority of
Yes.
buildings in Lekki. So how is it possible?
Sometimes when I see stories like this, because I think about some of these things logically, I'm just like, these people are just up to something. They are up to something. And this is why. Is it like there is no plan or there's no connection between previous government, present government, and probably what they can keep for future government? Because if there was a document that has approved maybe C of O's and all of that, these people would know that these houses, these lands were allocated to these people. They paid for it. They actually got all the documents that were necessary before they built here. So now they are coming out to say that these places, I saw one, I think a part of the story that said that the lands were meant for agricultural purposes. So and I saw something about the master plan as well. Sometimes individuals do not have access to the master plan. So when you, as the, like in Abuja now, I know that there's development control and all that. And in Lagos, there will be a body that regulates like purchasing of land and building or erecting of buildings in certain locations. Lekki is not like, I don't want to mention any other area in Lagos, but these are like top browse areas. So
The
before
highest,
you get
yeah.
you must be well-to-do one. You must be knowledgeable about maybe the history of the place and all of these things. So how is it that these grants or these lands were granted out, and then all of a sudden, at this point in time, after how many years, these people have built their houses there a long time ago, you are coming up to say, that's to tell you that you cannot even invest in certain things? Because I saw one story, I think Yemi Alade came out to say that you cannot invest in real estate in Lagos before
I think she probably was affected. I mean, for her to come out in
Yes.
Africa, I think maybe she had a property that was demolished.
Even if she wasn't affected or her family wasn't affected, this is something of concern to everybody that has the best interest of Nigeria at heart. How would you go and be demolishing people's houses at this point in time, and you're not even probably giving alternatives on where they could go to? Because you cannot even lift the house and go and build, maybe place it on a different location. These people invested so much money, and building a house in Lekki, first of all, buying the land is not being. So if you want to build a house there, it has to be standard. If you go to Lekki, the houses there are like, you'll be like, So what do they want them to do at this point? For me, it doesn't just make sense. It really doesn't make sense.
Oh, as in, I can't imagine what
I
they
pity
can
people
be.
that are in this
they might be
current
going through.
situation. It's really
Like-
very pinching.
I can't imagine developing a property like of all places. And
Lekki.
next thing, as in on a random day, because from a lot of the interviews I saw, they said they were not even giving notices. They just come and render you without property.
But then that is very unethical.
It's just-
Whichever the company, I don't know the name exactly of the body in charge of buildings and regulations, but whatever the body is, they are even supposed to be challenged. They are supposed to actually be apprehended for doing such, because they're supposed to give a 1 month to 2 months notice, so these people can possibly, or even a year or 2 years notice, so they can probably get a land, develop it, and move there. But now you just come to demolish people's houses. I think that's the right thing to do in any forward-thinking ecosystem. You're supposed to give these people notice, tell them why, and all of this. Is it like it's on the pathway? People are saying that it's on the road
okay.
network.
I can talk to that. And the commissioner for environment in Lagos, he said that the buildings, like, they were erected in contravention of the master plan of Lagos.
I've never seen the master plan.
Yeah, this this vague
I'm telling you, people just say,
master
this
plan
is-
that we can't see.
we can't see.
We can
We just hear about master
we just hear
plan.
about it. I heard about it a lot in the last election. The
Exactly.
master plan of Lagos, and they are saying that they were closing drainage, they were including drainage channels, and they were not approved by the relevant agencies. And this not approved is giving me flashbacks to this.
And they did not notice when these people started developing the land
Has
until
it-
when it was fully developed.
Yeah.
Oh,
if
nice
indeed,
one.
if indeed they were even blocking, I mean, that's a serious red flag, and it's something that you would, at the moment is happening, you need to address it.
Yes,
Not
immediately. It's not that you wait for how many years after to come and talk. So you want to lift my house, break my house, and make gutter so that water can pass.
No, but that 80% is a wild number. 80%,
Exactly. This is not
is
40. If it was even
is
below 50,
is
you
is
could.
is wild. That's majority. That means there's a different government in charge.
But trust Nigerians to always look for the devil in the details. Sometimes
Yeah.
a friend of mine at work was saying that he saw one study or someone's post online, something like that, and even though he's not so sure about whether or not the story is true, but that it has to do with the interest of the government, that they discovered that a lot of people in that particular area did not vote for the present administration, so they were looking for.
It's like a revenge.
Yeah,
They say like
this
the
is like a
revenge mission.
comeback, very very painful
Ah.
one.
If it's that one, that means they have many regions that
That
they
means
have
they're going to
to.
demolish almost all of the. In fact, they'll demolish everywhere because the trust deficit will always come in every form in Nigeria. Because this whole story about this particular area not voting for the government is due to the trust deficit. Because if we trust our government and they're demolishing, we'll say, okay, this is all for climate change, for
Yeah,
environmental
yeah.
sustainability.
Yeah.
But now people are not alluding it to.
No,
to
it's a problem. Like anything now,
I just think it's possible.
now anything that government does, you even if you want to
everybody.
assume that it is like
The right
everybody
thing.
automatically assumes that it's not true or is for something. There's a ulterior motive.
Yes.
That there's no nation that can run like that. Like
That's the thing.
there's no
It's
nation
actually
that
limiting our growth.
yeah. There's
'Cause
no way
everything-
that you don't trust the leadership. That's so if
That's
they
a
say
big
something,
problem.
you are
Yes.
believing the opposite.
Yes.
You're already
And we're
it's
always
like-
finding ways to combat them too.
As
So
in-
it's just like people against government.
Yeah, like even the cybersecurity, the first thing is people are already looking for
Yes.
the loopholes. How do I avoid this
And
thing?
no city, no state can grow like that because it's just like we are always in enmity. We're always looking for ways. The government, if the people or citizens start doing something that would work, the government will look for ways to suppress them. If the government decides to do something that probably will be good for the people, now we're not going to protest. So it's just like a people against the government scenario. No, please, I beg. We are,
How can this trust thing is a problem? I can't even I couldn't tell
honestly,
if I want to say okay, how can government start building trust? Because I can't even
let's not even go there because some people don't even want the trust to be built. Let us just continue fighting.
wow.
But it take a lot. It take a lot if we
It-
actually
it-
trust
it
the
will.
people, and it's going to take some time. Aside from taking a lot, because they have to do a lot continuously, and we have to know that they do not have any interest in it, and then it has to continue for as long as possible before people will now begin to say, it's like this government is good. It's like we have our best interest at heart, really, and then we can start building trust. But then trust is not something that you can build overnight. Like even with relationships, like family relationships and other relationships, if you've lost trust, it will take a lot. Even when you bring flowers, you come and sing, people will still not forgive you. Not to talk of government that is not going to that extent. They have to do a lot, oh. If they can bring the naira back to like 500 naira per dollar, and they can make the ease of doing business in Nigeria like 80%, if they can make everything easy for us in this country, I think then we can now begin to consider. It's not like would trust them. We can now start considering. So there's a lot for them to do, and other political things. They start allowing young people get to occupy some very key positions in the political space. All of these things, when done and done well, then we can consider. Otherwise, let's just continue with our trust deficit society.
And it's very ironic because I know Nigerians naturally are very trusting people. That's natural. Like Nigerians give benefit of that. Nigerians will say we should forgive. Like that they are
Forgive and forget.
like the first say I forgive this person, even if somebody has done something bad.
Yes.
Like we're very empathetic people. So
Yes.
it really says a lot that the government will say something immediately. Yeah, not just say what they're saying. It's not good.
No, it's not,
It's
to
not.
be honest.
The next issue I want to talk about is something that is very personal to you,
Okay.
because you care about young people.
Yeah.
Is the issues with JAMB,
Okay.
and we learned that this last JAMB results that came out,
Yeah.
that only about 24% of people actually
Pass.
got above 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which That's not a good.
Honestly.
That's not a good side. Like only 24%, and that means the overwhelming majority failed
Yes.
ultimately.
I saw that about, was it 1.8 million people or students, candidates
Yeah.
failed. And it's really saddening. And like you said, it's actually quite I'm very particular about this story because I want to really understand what the problem is. Is it like these students are now dumb or there are technical
Okay, sorry.
problems?
I think actually 1.4
Okay, 1.4
1.4
million.
million out
Oh,
of 1.8. Yeah,
okay,
1.8
so
was total.
1.8 was the
One,
total.
yeah, one
So
million
that means
eight
we
hundred
barely
and
had
forty-two
400,
thousand. Yeah,
400
people
people.
that passed, which
Wow.
is
I'll be 400,000.
yeah, it's about a number, 430 something thousand people. I mean,
Damn,
the students have to
yes.
explain this thing.
Yes.
Something is off.
And then in the news, I've been seeing a lot of people that passed and then they are showing off their results and all of that. But then, by the way, why is it that JAMB is not really coming out to speak more on this? Because I've been following this story and all I can see or all I could see was that there was probably like glitches that led to this or that. Are they not correcting those glitches? Because it's CBT for a reason. Some people were complaining. I saw some stories about people complaining that before they actually started, their timer had started counting, and some other people saying that their laptops went off before they were done, and it automatically submitted for them. So this is supposed to be JAMB's fault because you cannot tell me that 1.4 million students in Nigeria are dumb and they all failed this outrageously, and this is like the first time I'm seeing this massive number of failure.
No, this is a crazy.
This is too much to
crazy.
be real.
Okay, if we're saying we're kind of saying infrastructure is part of the issue.
Yes.
That's the computer.
Technical,
I
yeah.
know for sure there's no way you hold a nationwide CBT in Nigeria and there won't be issues. That's stuck from lights.
Yes.
I'm sure there are probably centers that the lights went off
Exactly.
during the exam.
So almost everybody
That's-
writing at that particular time suffered.
Suffer. I mean, the issues with computers. I mean, probably even the computers, are they even like new generation computers? Imagine doing an exam and the computer is slowing you down. I mean,
Your timer is counting fast.
as in, I can. The only thing that is working well is the timer. I'm sure even if the computer is off, the timer is still working. Well, that's definitely one. Are they even actually prepared? After I think it's been a while since they started adopting CBT, and we're
Yes.
still having.
So this is not new.
Not
So that's
new.
to tell you that we are sort of averse to technological upgrades because if they had noticed this problem from even the time I wrote JAMB, it was CBT, right? All of these things have been computer based, and definitely people have been complaining about glitches because even when I was writing, the person beside me was like, she's trying to click on something, her right answer, and it's not clicking. And her timer was still counting. So JAMB will not come and say,
That's a nightmare
as in,
right there.
and then she was trying to call the attention. And I think the people that they actually have as supervisors are not tech savvy. So they don't know how to understand. See, they need a very huge and gross overhauling in in JAMB and in a lot of other parastatals in Nigeria because a lot of these things are tech things.
Issues.
So it's not easy for anybody, just someone that has a degree in maybe English, to come and start doing this. You have to train these people, train them well, let them understand what to do when anybody complains about different problems. So a lot of people had problems, but they probably were not resolved early enough. Maybe the people that could actually solve the problem came in 10 minutes to the end time. So you in 10 minutes you cannot answer how many questions. I know that it used to be like I think 50-50 for every subject, and I think English used to be like a lot more. So you cannot tell me that this person will pass this exam when the person does not feel or answer these other questions. So I think that's another reason. Aside from, let's not take out the fact that maybe the students did not read very well. I'm not trying to say that everybody that wrote JAMB or everybody that failed.
We'll get to that,
But then
yeah.
there are so many reasons that that led to why there was this massive failure. But it's very disheartening. These people are paying money for this JAMB. It's not like they are just going there and writing this JAMB for free. They are paying money. So now you failed. You have to go again next year to write. Time and age is not on your side. these are factors that I'm looking out for, because I hate to write like exams. In fact, I don't really like exams, because I don't think that exams are the true test of knowledge. So me, I'd probably jacked very well. I took my time to read. Then computer now comes to mess me up. Then I have to wait for 1 more year. And that brings me to the point of something I was trying to talk to a friend of mine about. I don't think JAMB should be the only, way to go into the university. I know that for private universities, I don't know if they use JAMB. I think, or is it WAEC that they don't use? But
they use JAMB.
JAMB
They
should
use
not
JAMB in
be.
my experience.
JAMB should not be it. I think there should be other ways, because I think the whole UTME system has been adulterated, and let us find other ways to get people into university, because people have been writing JAMB. I know about people that have been writing JAMB for over 10 years now.
10 years.
Let me know
People have been
exactly.
writing JAMB for 10 years.
Yes, now
And they haven't gotten.
they haven't gotten admission.
Wow.
So there should be
That's
other ways
a
to get
decade
into the university. Yes.
Gone. That's crazy.
So that is like a good time and prime time of anybody's life. So you wasted it writing JAMB
Writing
over and
JAMB.
over again. Please
That's
just go
scary.
and start the business, marry, do something. Honestly.
That's really scary. Yeah. Also, in addition to mishaps with
Yeah.
equipment, according to the article I'm reading from Punch article,
Yeah.
they said on social media a lot of people were blaming social media. On social media, people are blaming
Yes.
social media. That's
As
one.
distraction.
Yeah, that there's a decreasing attention span among Gen Z.
It has
That-
to be agencies.
Do you believe this? That social media can affect? I don't know. In my experience, social media kind of expanded my learning horizon.
Well-
Like YouTube, in particular, now you can learn things that you never had access to before,
Exactly.
unless they are looking out for the wrong things on
Yes.
social media and
So
it's their focus.
it's actually very relative, because it depends on you as an individual. But I think the potential that lies in social media is quite broad. If you decide to utilize it well, then you get the best off of it. But if you decide to just go with the flow and have fun at it, then you stand at a risk of being one of those people that probably failed JAMB. But like you said, YouTube is actually a very good way to learn things. A lot of people will tell you that they learned video editing, they learned this, they learned that from YouTube.
I did.
Exactly. So there's nothing in the world, and I think anything in the world that you want to find that you can't find on YouTube. Thank you so much for having me here. Like, I really had a good conversation, though I spoke very passionately and angry at some point, because some of these matters, they are hurting me, they pain me so much. But then we need to keep talking about this, and we need to have more young people that are aware about this and are speaking, letting their voices be heard on this subject, so that even the government know that we say we're not playing.
All right, thanks guys for watching. Once again, my name is Obi King. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.